What's up, guys? I'm Lex McMahon, the angry Chihuahua, Jose Shorty Torres, and the sexiest man in MMA. What the boy? What's up, Steven?
What's up, y'all?
Good to see you, brother.
You too, my friend.
Love you,
What's
man.
up? What's up?
I feel like the guests keep
Thank
getting
you for-
skinnier, but I
You
keep
think
getting
so?
chunkier.
You think
like
so?
it's just weird. It gets skinnier, and I'm just like slowly blowing
It's
up.
because you've never met any food that you don't like.
That's also true.
That is
That's
true.
also
I literally bought this man as a kind gesture because he came out to camp to support me. I bought him his favorite cereal, Reese's Peanut Butter Puffs.
Delish.
Ate
I
the entire
gotta
box in
concur
20
on that.
minutes, Wonder Boy. 20 minutes, the
Wait,
entire box.
wait, you finished the box?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Are you kidding? You're kidding me, right?
And sometimes Publix will have them like 2 for $1, and like, you know, he's like bad luggage. I
Shout
can't
out
get
to
rid of him. So he's always at my house, right? So I buy him, you know, the 2 for $1. They'll both be gone in the same day.
All right.
And you're gonna fight in like 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, that's also the problem. Here's
I
the
don't
thing.
understand why I'm 65 pounds overweight.
He's my enabler. So he's like, Shorty, you have weight cutting problems. Here's these Reese Puffs. It's like,
That's usually how it goes.
my problem is the food in front of me. You know, so I'm like, dude, well, I'm not gonna like slowly eat this throughout the days. I'm just gonna finish this now and be over and done with. And then he buys me a box of cereal. I'm like,
I hate you,
gotta
but I
devour
love
it
you.
now.
Eat this now.
I gotta devour it now. And then out of nowhere, later on the night, there's another box of cereal. And I'm like, and
I love you.
he's just laughing the entire time. And I was like, okay.
Don't tip
All
me.
right, Shorty. Well, let's not talk about your food drama. Let's talk about the Furious Five.
How'd you say it earlier?
Whoa!
How'd you say it earlier? The Furious
The
Five?
Furious Five.
There you go.
I feel we had this conversation earlier. I feel like the Furious Five. We've got to have like a graphic that pops up.
That would be cool.
With like the Kung Fu Panda crew. But
Yes.
I'm of course Poe. Like I've got to be
You gotta
Poe.
be Poe.
Yeah.
What, if that's the case, who would I be? The monkey?
I think you might be the monkey. No, you're Tigress, bro.
Tigress?
I mean, I hate to make you a chick, but she's the badass one.
She is. You know what?
We'll call you Tiger. This is a new era, man. This is like it's okay to be whatever you want. So now
Right.
Tigress is identified as Wonder Boy.
That's right. You know, people call me Wonder Woman. I was like, listen, Wonder Woman can kick everybody's behind.
True
so
story.
I don't mind it.
All right, Shorty, what you got?
All right. So I just want to compliment you. You are probably the flyest guest we've ever had.
Oh, well, thank you.
Looks good. Looks good.
This guy says I'm good looking. You say I'm fly. I'm loving this, right?
It's a complimenting podcast. We insult each other, but we compliment.
Listen,
our
we're in
guests.
Alabama, so I wore pants and a collar shirt. But since we're in Alabama, I didn't wear shoes.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
you
I
know,
was about to
we're pretty
point that
redneck
out.
up in here, man.
I'm from South Carolina. I know me some redneck, all right?
You're like a very classy redneck.
Thank you.
You know, like Pops didn't want you to be too redneck, but you got some redneck in you, man.
It's in the fam. You know? So
All right, Shorty, what you got?
All right. And so, because of your style of fighting, and you are a veteran of the sport, what fighter did you idolize growing up?
Oh, well, that's a very good question. There's a few people actually. Well, for one, let's go movies. Is it okay? Go
Okay.
movies,
Yeah,
and then-
yeah, let's do it.
Okay, for one, it was my first and foremost Bruce Lee. My dad, you know, was a huge Bruce Lee fan, and from there it went to John Claude. We were talking about John Claude not too long ago. I watched all of his movies.
You know you can do the
I
Jean-Claude
watched-
dance. You know you can.
Bro, I'm not gonna pull that off right now. Okay, Will,
My
when
back.
the camera's
Somebody
on,
move
my
the
back's
chairs.
killing me, man.
Somebody move the chairs.
But I think as a fighter, let's say earlier UFCs, I love Tank Abbott. Completely not my style.
Dude, I kind of
love
look like
Tank
Tank.
Abbott.
If I had a full, like a goatee going, I'd be...
Hey, I was thinking it, but you said it.
Yeah, I could be Tank or Chemo. One of the two.
Chemo,
Like a
yeah.
little bit darker skin,
I
you
get
know?
it. If you grow the beard out a little bit, definitely Tank.
Yeah.
Tank
Old
Abbott
gray
was
beard.
one of my best. And then, obviously, the karate master himself, Lyoto Machida. He was
sure.
kind of my inspiration.
Yeah.
I you know, watching him do his thing, you know, I can do that. I can do that.
You probably saw him and said, man, it's possible. Because
Oh, yeah.
everybody said, oh, no, you know, karate guys can't come into MMA and really do it. And Lyoto showed... Like back in the old day, they, you know, for sure we're doing the early UFCs, but you know the newest iteration as MMA had evolved.
Right.
Lyoto showed that not only could you do it, you could dominate.
Yeah, I mean,
You
he
know?
was champion. Where was he? Yeah, he was
Yeah,
champion.
yeah.
So, I mean, and my style of karate is obviously a little bit different. He's a little bit more of a traditional stylist. You know,
He drinks his
everything's
tea in
straight
the morning. That's traditional
Yeah, that's
karate.
super traditional. I never got down with that. By the way, more
Just
Americanized.
point of clarification. No
Never
pee
drank
for
my own
me.
urine, but he was definitely one of my all-time favorites.
Okay. Lex?
You know, man, it's two. It's Muhammad Ali, because I love what Muhammad does as a being bigger than the sport.
Right.
He understood that athletes have a role, but man, he talked, he made it entertaining, and then he backed it up.
Mm-hmm.
So I love Muhammad Ali, but also Bruce Lee, man. Like to me, like he personified what martial arts is.
Yeah.
To me, you know, and so those are my two guys.
I would say he's in my top 5 for sure.
All right. For me,
What you
I've
got,
always,
Shorty?
I've said it multiple times in the podcast.
Manny Pacquiao?
I'm a fan of Manny Pacquiao.
Yeah.
He's
Started
actually
out-
he's
started
like
out 108.
verified as the #1 fan of Manny Pacquiao.
Yeah. He actually follows
Wait,
me, so
there's
I'm
a
happy about
verification
that.
of that?
Wait, Manny follows you?
Yeah, he for some reason follows me. Yeah.
He probably thinks
Man
you got a
and his
dog that he
foundation.
can eat.
Yeah, probably.
No.
Which that's actually
story.
one of the
Tell,
reasons.
tell Wonder Boy the
So
story.
that's one of the
So there's a
reasons
real
why he
story to
started
this.
boxing.
Yeah.
So they were so poor in the Philippines that his father had to eat his dog to feed the family.
What?
And so
and
he's
not
like,
just a dog, the family dog.
yeah. So he's like, all right, I gotta go like
No.
make money somewhere. And he decided to turn pro at a
Hey
very
Manny,
early
bring me
age.
Scooter
Yeah.
outside. And we're gonna eat him for dinner.
And he like fake his age so he can turn pro faster and fight and do all these things. He started at 108, ended his career, at least his championship career run at 154.
No wonder he looked
now
like he
he's
was
41
12,
years old. Dude, he's
fighting
had the biggest.
professionally.
Yeah.
He's had the biggest cast out of every weight class. If you ever
That's
watch
ridiculous.
any of his fights, he
How
has
old
the
is he
biggest
now?
cast, 41.
41.
And like legit could be president of the Philippines.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
He's
he's
so
like
popular there.
the
'Cause he's
Muhammad
done so
Ali
many
of
good
the
things,
Philippines.
You know?
I was in the Philippines. I think it was after the Johnny Hendricks fight. That was the one person I really wanted to.
Did you go with
meet.
Brandon Vera?
Who did I go? No, I didn't go with Brandon Vera. That was, I think it was 2015 after the Hendricks fight.
Yep.
We went up there. We kind of did a tour. Super cool place. So super cool. We did some what is it? The Philippine martial arts.
Kale!
Kali. Yes, that was so
Kale! You gotta say it like that.
Kali. Super cool, man. I loved it.
All right. So
What
let's
you got?
see.
What's next?
Lay it on us.
Favorite martial arts movie scene?
Not just movie, but movie scene.
Movie scene. So if like you're like, man, this is the martial arts scene that really got me into it, or I want to show it off to somebody because it's just my favorite. What would it be?
Okay, so obviously I there was no say so growing up. You know,
Pops
I
had it
started
on
martial arts
TV.
at 3, so there was no really anything that got me into it. But Pops, it was just as important as our education martial arts was.
Honestly, probably more important
Oh,
because
yeah.
it started before.
Oh, it did. 100%. And
It was the foundation. It's the foundation. Like I joke and say, "Oh, the house that karate built," but really, karate built the men and women of your family.
yes, sir.
Because your sisters, everybody's done karate.
Everybody. And I got 13 nieces and nephews. Started at the age of 3.
Yeah.
Same thing. We're building an army, y'all.
Yeah, you are. And plus you got the
We're building an
Weidmans
army.
now
We
in
got
there.
the Weidmans. We got
Woo!
the Machados. I know. Dad's trying to hook me up with Cyborg.
It just keeps on
That's,
going.
by the way, Cyborg is my crush.
Yeah, it's-
She's
it's-
my
that's
MMA
his-
crush.
That's his biggest
Everybody
crush,
looks
yeah.
at me
It's
like, "Oh my
hilarious.
god!" I'm like, "No, dude, she's hot."
I
can't
I
help
don't know
it.
about that. I don't know about.
WB, there's something about a woman that can kick your ass. It's enticing.
I had to do a meet and greet next to her, and I was
Yeah.
like, I'm terrified. I don't know how
Look at
you're
me, you're like
attracted to this.
3'2".
And he loved it.
My experience with her, we were at the
Nicest person
UFC
in the
summit,
world.
right? And
By the way,
I think-
she's an awesome person.
oh yeah, she's super
amazing
sweet, super.
person.
I got to hang out with her. It was really cool. And I think some girl was talking about her on Twitter, and she confronts this lady, right?
Oh, dude, I was in Vegas a few years
Yes.
back.
And
like 5 years ago or something.
Me and Chris Weidman tried to break it up, and Chris grabs Cyborg, and Cyborg looks at him and says, "Don't you touch me." And you know, Chris is the champion at the time. He backs up like,
Bro, I would have been so
I got nervous
aroused.
for him.
I
We
would have
just
been
backed
so
away.
aroused at that moment. I can't
That sounds
help
like
it.
Lex.
No.
That sounds like Lex.
No, when she says you're, I mean, I don't know. I mean, she grabs you and says you're mine. I mean, you can't fight her off.
No,
There's no way of fighting her off.
You know, I mean, like I'm gonna go down fighting, but with her, I should be like, "Take me, I'm yours, baby."
Yeah.
Let's go.
There's got to be somebody.
Right now, WB's going in his mind. He's processing, going, "Oh my god, that's horrible." I'm going, "No,
Let's do it.
It's awesome."
That's the first
Oh
time
my
Lex
goodness.
pulls guard.
Yeah, come to me.
She wants to make
By the way,
love
what's
to you,
pulling
she's
guard, Shorty? I have
holding you
no
down.
idea,
Yeah.
but I'll figure it out.
But favorite fight scene, I would say, would be the very first Matrix. So we used to have a demo team. We would go around and perform martial arts in front of like halftime shows. You know,
And with like the bow staff,
bow
and the
staff, things
swords,
like
all
that.
that shit's so
And
fun to watch.
It
you
was
guys do
really
that.
cool. And then we did the Matrix fight scene, right? A skit, and that was kind of like our inspiration was from that very first fight scene of him. You know, downloading whatever he had in his head,
I know
and he's
Kung
fighting,
Fu.
and he's like, I know Kung Fu. And he does that first fight scene. It was super cool. And you don't look at Keanu Reeves as being a martial artist, but he actually is now.
Yeah.
I think from that movie, he still trains martial arts, still does does jujitsu, does a lot of gunfighting as
What
well.
I was
John
going to say,
Wick
what I like
films.
about Keanu is when he puts himself into a role. You know, even back in the Point Break days, Johnny
Yeah.
Utah, like he really put himself into the role, and he learns it and he does it. And since he went into Point Break, he's been training weapon manipulation since then, and how to properly handle a firearm. He actually trained with one of my buddies, who's a Navy SEAL, Sean Ryan, and has a company called Vigilance Elite. And I think before the last Matrix came out, he trained with him, and he learned CQB.
You see, like you can find it on YouTube him doing the 3-gun stuff. You know
That was with my buddy.
Yeah.
no way.
Yeah.
We gotta
That
hook
was
you
with
up,
him, I
man. I
didn't
would
know
love
that.
to do some of that.
All right.
That's my favorite. That's my all-time
That's a good
favorite
one.
fight scene.
It's a good one.
Yours?
So, I mean, I've got... God, you're so gorgeous, Lee. I've got Lee Stuckey over there massaging his face and his scalp, and he's so...
You can't help but look over there.
Bites.
The mosquitoes made sweet love to his face last night in the
All over my
pond.
head.
But so there's two things. One is, I think in every martial arts movie is, you want to fight? Fight me! Ah! Like that little start, I love that. There's something about it. It's so cheesy but fun. But actual scene, going to when Bruce Lee is in the room with the mirrors. And dude, that's such an intense
And
scene.
he roundhouses that guy, and it looks like he just when he flies out of the scene, out of the
Yes.
screen. That was sick.
That's a badass scene. So yeah, that's
I
mine.
agree.
For me, one of my first films I ever saw was Jackie Chan's Drunken Master 2. And yeah,
WBC.
What I
It's
think
a
of that,
proof.
man? That was the best.
And like the very first scene he fights, where his stepmom just keeps throwing him alcohol.
Yeah.
And like one of them, he takes a drink of it. He's like, "Oh, what's this?" She goes, "I don't know." And he throws it back. She goes, "What's it mean?" Where there's a picture of a skull on it. And he's like, "Good
It's
stuff."
good stuff.
And he just keeps on fighting. He gets stronger and stronger and
And she
stronger.
was so comical in that movie
Yeah.
too. She was great, man.
And that was the best thing for Jackie Chan was he was right after Bruce Lee. Everyone was trying to mock, or
He
trying to
just
repeat
did his
beat
own
Bruce Lee.
thing,
Yeah.
man. You know?
Own
added
stunts. He
comedy
was
to
funny
it.
with it. You know, there's a lot of comedy.
But he
and
truly
stuff.
did his own stunts.
Yeah.
You know?
I think there was a few times where I remember this once. I remember what movie it was, but he falls through these layers of like.
Yeah, I know exactly
outdoor-
which moving.
And I think he broke his back in
Yeah.
real life or something like that. Or broke his neck.
He's
Yeah.
done a few of them where like he's hanging on a clock tower and he's falling 4 stories. And
That
he's
was
supposed
it.
To,
Yeah, that
he's
was
supposed
it.
to go through like aprons.
He was
Yeah,
over in
yeah,
Europe.
Flips. He did it 3 times. He did the first one, landed on his neck, broke his neck. Then he goes, I didn't like the shot. I'm gonna do it again. And and he did it 2 more times after.
The
that.
huevos on that guy.
Oh,
The
yeah.
crazy thing was, he goes, I was scared every single time doing it. So instead of just letting go, I would hold on until my grip just let go.
Wow.
And then he would fall.
And that's what
and then
made it
come
look
back
so
3
much
months
more
later.
natural.
Yeah.
You know.
And so they added all 3 shots to it. So if you rewatch the film,
So
when
they
you see
pieced
the
it.
when you see the fall, it's 3 different falls. They just
wow.
kept it in because it was just awesome.
Yeah, so epic.
What?
And one of them, he literally after he breaks his back, they literally pick him up and drag him, and he still has to keep on acting.
Guy's a nut, man.
Hey, it's
his
Hong
ankle.
Kong, dude. They don't take like. There's
Yeah.
no.
No.
Oh, I need some time off. It's get back in there, Jackie.
Yeah.
Throw some kicks.
And what was cool about that, he was a stuntman for Bruce Lee.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he got injured in Enter the Dragon.
Yeah.
All right, different question. What's your mindset before the first bell rings? So after the walkout, you're inside the cage. Whoever's the ring announcer, and you're just waiting for that bell to start. What's your mindset in that moment?
The one thing that's kind of that I'm feeling before that first round. There's no really thinking. It's just I feel a whole overwhelming sense of confidence, and because I know going out before the fight, I mean I know in my head that I've done everything that I possibly could to prepare for this fight. If I got injured, there's always something that I can do in the gym. When people are taking time off, which you see it from time to time again, even at a professional level, you get guys with injuries or they're feeling a little under the weather. I'm not going to go on for training.
But
Not me.
that's the difference, man. Is your life is martial arts.
Right.
Even when you're not doing MMA, you're in the gym at Upstate Karate, teaching 800 kids and spending time, and you're there. That's your life, man.
Every day,
Like
all
you said,
day,
3
every
years
day.
old.
Yep, ever since I was 3, we were raised in the dojo. We were raised in the dojo. But that's kind of the feeling that I get is an overwhelming sense of confidence. I know as you're waiting in the back, which is the worst part of it all, is waiting when you're up next. I'm hoping an asteroid comes down to blow the place up, so I don't have to go out there and fight. That's what literally that's what I'm feeling. And then, of course, I walk out to Tenacious D by Jack Black, Wonder Boy, and that kind of puts a smile on my face.
Yeah.
It kind of relieves The
It was
stress.
the perfect song, man.
Oh, I love it. And it's my brother's been asking me to fight, walk out of that song for years. And finally, it was
your UFC. I think your second.
it was my second fight. I asked my Twitter followers, like,
Mm-hmm.
what should I walk out to? And they said Wonder Boy by Tenacious D. Been walking out to it ever since.
And I mean, there was no question in my mind.
No,
as soon as I heard it, I was
that's
like,
it.
why haven't we not done this before?
Puts a smile on my face, and then while you're up there, and then Bruce has done his thing, and I'm sitting here looking at the guy because the fight doesn't start until that gate is closed, and it feels like it's slow motion. Everything else is fast paced, but up
Just
until that
takes
moment,
forever.
I'm watching him, and it's like he shuts it, and it's like he puts that little pin in the gate, and it's like slow motion, and as soon as it hits, I don't remember anything else till after the fight.
Wow.
I don't remember anything because from then on, it's just reaction time, right?
Yeah.
It's,
Matrix.
It's the preparation that you're putting in before what makes that muscle memory happen.
So you want to say you kind of go on like autopilot?
Yes, I mean there are some key things that kind of go through my head. For instance, when my coaches, we were sitting there cage side when Pop said spin.
Yeah.
When I fought Jake Ellenberger,
Yep.
and that's just like something that just clicked. I knew what to do.
Yep.
Right.
Or show me the money when you fought
Show me
Stitchin'.
the money. Yeah, show me the money.
Yeah.
Jab, cross, roundhouse. So you got these little key words that Pops yells out there. And pretty much there's not a whole lot of instruction even when I go back to the corner. Because I've been fighting since I was 15 years old. It's just go out there and do your thing. He may give me little pointers here and there, but it's not like an overwhelming.
Yeah, it's nice,
you know,
minimal,
yeah.
and simple to understand.
Right. Get little keywords. That's about it.
For me, it's it depends on how the fight goes. Obviously the mental health aspect of a fight. If you're had pre-fight anxiety, you're just all over the place before the bell rings. For me, some of my fights, if I've come out smiling and happy, I'm just like, well, this cage is closed. Let's see how how this goes. There's
Right.
all the hard stuff is done.
Yep.
The fight, and I'm pretty sure you agree, is the easiest part. No matter what happens, it is literally the easiest part. Whether win, lose, draw, sub, knocked out, whatever the case may be, you're like, it's not that bad.
Yeah, you're literally after the fight. You give it a week to heal up from training camp, not the actual fight.
Yeah, that's.
And if it was me, I know you got a fight coming up.
Yeah, man.
So a little just advice going, and this is something that my dad always tells me, and you've heard him say it time and time again. Before I step out in the octagon, in the cage, and this always gives me a sense of calmness as well. My dad always says, listen, no matter what happens, your family, your friends, your students are still gonna love you. Just go out there and have some fun.
Yeah.
So win or lose, it's like, you know what? Let's go out there and have some fun. So it always kind of gives me a sense of calm before I step out there. No matter what, I mean, you're the one stepping out there doing the work. When 99.9% of the population don't have the guts to do it.
Yep.
Good old keyboard warriors.
Oh yeah, you
Shout
got
out,
those
guys.
keyboard
That's
warriors.
for me. I mean, somebody asked me this the other day. I think it was in one of our podcasts. It's the part that I'm most concerned about is those moments before.
Right.
Once I'm in, man, like I'm in, but I've got so many things that I've never experienced, and I've got so many things that drive emotion for me, and I'm an emotional person, and it's those quiet moments that I've got to figure out how to handle properly, so that when I get into the cage, I'm going to be cool.
Right.
Like we've emulated, kind of done several times a full practice where we go through like hand wrapping to going out to the next phase and walking into the cage, the walkout song, all that sort of stuff. And it's that moment when I get my hands wrapped that I have the toughest time with my emotions.
I'm with you. I'm with you right there because you know that you're getting ready.
I guess it's
to prepare
real
for
at that
battle.
point.
Right,
Yeah.
it's real. There's no.
You're putting on your armor, you're putting whatever it is,
And I feel like
Yeah.
backstage is like the longest time before the
Oh, I
fight.
hate it.
It's the longest time, especially if you're the co or main event. You're just waiting there.
And everybody else is they're done with their fight. They're all happy. They're
You're like, oh my God.
And I'm just like, oh my God, I still got to do this.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, like I've been for 12 years in this sport. I've been in the back at the highest level doing all this sort of stuff, but now that I'm doing it, as opposed to being kind of a voyeur, kind of looking in on you guys doing it, it's different, man. It's a whole new animal.
But what's cool is that how many people, knowing what these guys are going through, is putting themselves in that situation as well.
Sure.
Right? You're doing that. I mean, I don't care who you are. That takes some balls. That takes some balls, man.
Yeah.
That takes some balls.
All right. So next question: who is somebody you fanboy over?
You know what? I've never fanboyed over anybody.
No one whatsoever.
Nobody. I've met The Rock. Walked by the president of the United States. He's waved to you. That was after my last fight at Madison Square Garden. Yeah. Arnold Schwarzenegger, John Claude, hung out with him. Actually went out with him in Montreal with GSP.
That had to be a pretty interesting evening.
That was a
George,
pretty interesting.
And Jean-Claude Van Damme.
I was in the shadows, just letting them do their thing. Just watching. But
by the way, you just like elbowed the
I
turkey.
did. That's what you get. Don't you look at me like that.
You're gonna be stuffed again.
He really didn't mean that. It's okay.
But I think that when you're in this kind of a sport, you meet a lot of people.
Yeah.
You meet a lot of really cool, high profile people. But at the end of the day, the people that I've met are just regular people. They're normal people who work their behinds off to get to where they're at. And I look at them and like, you know what? I can do the same thing. So
you
I
have
guess
done the same thing.
you know what? I'm glad you think so. I'm waiting for that belt around my waist, and I think even then, I don't think I'll still feel satisfied. And I think that's just the way I am. I want to be the best at what I do, and not just to have the belt, but I want to be known as one of the best fighters who ever lived.
Yeah.
And for me, the fighting in this industry, the money's just a bonus. I do it for the honor and the glory. I've been fighting since I was this big, so that's what I want to be known as, just one of the best fighters.
So like my height. Okay.
No, that was when he started at 3.
Yeah. Started at that height and then grew.
Yeah, worked my way up, and that's why I do it. But to be honest with you, if I was gonna fanboy over anybody, it's in a completely different sport. I love the game, and I was this close.
Was
to
it
meeting,
Ninja?
It wasn't Ninja. It's
okay.
a guy named Dr. Disrespect.
Okay,
Do you know who Dr. Disrespect? The funniest dude. I mean, the guy makes bank just playing video games, and he's like 40. I think he's 40 years old. Character, bro. Look this guy
Hey,
up.
let's talk
He's
about when
awesome.
you bought your first house. The only piece of furniture you had was a gaming chair. You
That was
slept
it.
in it.
That was-
You slept in it. You didn't. You're like, check out my house. I'm like, WB, where's your
There's
furniture,
nothing.
bro? He's like,
There's
no,
nothing.
I got my gaming
I
chair.
got my gaming chair. I'm ready to go. It was funny because my sister from Texas, my oldest sister, she comes in, she looks at my house, she starts crying. It's like, you can't afford anything? I'm like, no, I just haven't had. I'm a guy. I had a place. I like a little cot. I come home from work one day, fully furnished, every room in the house. She paid for everything. I'm like, but you didn't have to do that. Are you kidding me? I just got a bonus. I just got the fight of the night bonus. After fighting my first fight, I was like, no, you ain't got to do it. But she did, man. It
That's
was great.
awesome, man. But that's your family.
I think, she's awesome. My whole family's like that. So, but I think it would be Dr. Disrespect. He's such a cool dude, man.
Shout out, you gotta reach out. I don't know if you're watching this, but there you
Dr.
go.
D, let's go.
Lex, what about you?
If I was gonna fanboy, or have I fanboyed over?
Is it
anybody?
Cyborg? I don't know.
Cyborg.
Have you met her?
Oh yeah, no, I've met her a bunch,
okay,
man.
okay.
But she's so cool. Like, even though I'm kind of enamored by her, like I didn't fanboy. Lawrence Taylor, back in the day, man.
Really?
He was the guy that and as a person, he's had some challenges as a man, But what he did on the field, he redefined the linebacker position, and I emulated in a much slower rate and pace, but I emulated my style of play from him, and that pure aggression and just crashing down the line. Again, much slower, but I had the same aggression, man. But Lawrence could go out and do a pound of coke and bang 10 hookers, then walk onto the field and be like, boom, let's go. Like he was full energy, full go all the time. But something about him, he changed the sport of football in my mind, And so he's always a guy and I did get to meet him, and I was like, Mr. Taylor, how you doing, LT? Good to see you, sir. I've met everybody, man.
Yeah.
I totally had a tough time with him. Weird, right?
Awesome.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
For
Shorty?
me, I was a huge fan of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers when they came out.
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Yeah, and that's what also got me into martial arts.
Was it the green?
It was the
Ranger?
Green and White Ranger, Tommy Oliver, which is crazy that he had a Facebook fan page. And I decided, let me message him because he's replying back to some people. A few weeks later, he replies back.
Wow.
And I was letting him know, hey, I'm an MMA fighter. I'm still an amateur. This is my record. And honestly, it's because of you. This is why I started. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to send you some gear. and he sponsored me
no
a bunch
way.
of gear. And I'm a college student that doesn't work. I have no money. So I'm like, man, I'm just decked out in all this new gear. It's awesome. And I'm just kind of like just fanboying. Like, this is great. Years later, he sponsors me to go to the Czech Republic for a tournament. He sponsored me to go here to a tournament. And then I actually finally got to meet him in person. And the whole time I'm just sitting there. I'm just quiet. And I'm just letting him speak and talk the entire time. And now that, I have his number and I can communicate with him every once in a while and even just, put my emotions
You're
out
not
there
sending
with him.
dick pics, are you?
Dude, not yet.
Balls up.
Not yet, yeah.
But he sends me, you ever had that person that just has that iconic voice?
Yeah.
For him, he had the iconic voice in Power Rangers. So when he messages me, he does voice messages. So I don't care what he says. I just listen to it. I'm just like, this is awesome.
That's him.
That's so
Well,
cool,
he was
bro.
an MMA fighter too, right?
Yeah.
He fought MMA as well.
I think it was like 2 or 3-0, and then he was like, "I want to fight CM Punk," and the fight never happened, but it was awesome. There was like a petition.
Yeah.
It would have been cool. I thought that would have just been a fun celebrity deathmatch
Yeah,
type
that
of
would be
fight.
sick.
But for me,
Green
that was the
Power
guy.
Ranger.
Even still today, again, I talked to him. I've hung out with him. He just speaks, and I'm like, okay, cool. I'm gonna listen. I don't care what
That's
you're telling
sweet.
me. I'm gonna listen. So
That's cool.
that's just me.
That's awesome. What do you got, Shorty?
All right, the fun one, the one I told you was gonna be.
Oh gosh,
gonna be
okay, hit me with it.
interesting.
Hit me with it.
So we usually go kind of crazy and we ask them, we're like, oh, it's Wonder Boy, maybe we should tone it down. I said, no. Here's a couple subject matters maybe we don't broach on, but the rest, make it awkward. Make it,
Let's go.
So I know your father's in your life. Everywhere you go, you respect him to the fullest. It was the same thing with my father, but I was also very terrified of my father.
Yes.
Because my father did crazy things to me. But what's the most scared you've ever been before you saw your father? Like, did you do something and you knew your father was gonna tear you apart or something, or whatever the case may be?
Mr. T's tough, dude. So there could be.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
you were a good kid,
So,
I know, but still.
If it was anybody that getting the ass whoopings, it was me.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much on a regular basis.
From all the kids,
Oh,
all the
yeah.
kids, yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was very mischiefy, man. I was always, either getting my brothers into trouble, my sister into trouble. I was the one getting my behind whooped. And a lot of my punishment was having to fight my sister. So
And by the way, Lindsay's tough.
she was the first fighter of the family.
Yeah.
My little sister fought kickboxing. I mean, she walked around 175 pounds. I mean,
Jacked.
traps. I mean, in high school,
Yeah.
she was
Jacked.
just a big
And,
girl.
and she's older.
And she's older. She'll be 40 this year or next year.
Yeah.
Still, I mean, bigger forms than me. I mean, she whooped my behind, and I think it was nothing really that I did that was too terrible. But if we ever got caught, fighting anywhere with our siblings, because we were all a bunch of alpha dogs.
Right.
We were always fighting. Everywhere we went, we were punching, kicking each other, fighting. My dad was just tired of it one day, and if we ever got in trouble, we had to fight Big Sis. And no gear.
Into the dojo, here we go.
This was actually at the house. My dad would always pull out the cop. It was always after dinner. And if we ever got in trouble, fighting or getting into getting in trouble in the neighborhood, whatever, I had to fight my sister Lindsay. And he would pull the coffee table out of the way, and no gear. We couldn't close fist to the face, but we could palm heel to the face. We could kick to the legs, the body, the head, and it was full contact. We could not stop until he said we could stop.
Oh boy.
So
I would have loved to have seen some of those matches, man.
oh man, we were scrappy. I'm gonna tell you, it was rough, but it taught me a lot, and it conditioned us as well. Conditioned me.
So like I said, now obviously it's your sister, so it's different, but there's something very cool, let's say it that way, about a woman that's empowered, that can defend herself, that can get after it and scrap, man. Like, I know your sister, she's amazing, dude, but she's got this air of confidence because she knows, hey man, I can get after
go
it.
down.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's one thing we never had to worry about my sisters. Never.
Yeah.
Going out their own, going out with guys, never had to worry about because we knew they could take care of themselves.
That's right.
And even to today, after, she's got 14, 15, 16, 17, back to back. She's got 4 kids. I would not mess with her. And she's got this.
Well, now she's got jujitsu too because
Exactly.
she married Carlos Machado. So now she's like badass kickboxer who's got jujitsu.
Got jujitsu. So that was probably the most nerve-wracking I've ever been was knowing that I had to fight her. And it wasn't really, of course, my dad, he just give you a look and you piss your pants. That's just the way he was.
Yeah.
We lived at the dojo. If I ever got in trouble at the school, he would put me on the hard floor and make me do knuckle push-ups. And sometimes he would just forget about me. And if he looked over, he looked where I was. If I wasn't doing those push-ups, I know how to fight my sister when I got home.
Oh,
So knuckle
man.
push-ups all day, man. He was sitting for hours, just forget about me. Parents, karate parents come like, "You okay, Steven?" I'm like, "Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am."
But there's something about, I think our society gets too caught up in now, which is, being too soft on kids. Like, you don't want to be hard on a child. No, man, you need to be hard in a
They
loving
need
way.
to learn that now.
But you've got to learn those tough lessons early because it conditions you.
Right.
Whereas if you don't learn those hard lessons, you're given a soft life, you learn that too.
Exactly. And you know what? And I see that something every day with kids coming into the school. Where parents are coming to me asking me to make their kids behave at home. I said, listen, I can do only so much.
Right.
I can't go home with a kid.
And you've always kind of, since you got to a certain age, run the child's program,
Right.
the kids program.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why inside, outside the octagon, I got 600 kids back home that watch every move I make.
Yeah.
So, being a good example for them, that's what it's all about for me.
Yeah, 100%.
So inside and outside of the octagon. But, I can make them respect me here, but you're going to have to do it at home. And parents want to be friends with their kids. And there's nothing wrong with doing stuff with their kids.
Have a great relationship with
great
your kids, but
relationship
you
with
got to
them.
parent them.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And I think that's the problem nowadays. I didn't become friends with my dad till I was older, till I was in mid to late teens.
Yeah.
But up until that point, my dad was, I
Well, it's
was scared of my
interesting.
dad.
You think about this. All the fighters, everybody that comes, even when they don't know him, there's something about your dad that he projects that commands respect. Everybody calls him Mr.
It's like
T.
aura.
Yeah, everybody he's somebody that has earned it without even getting to know that person. That's what I love about him, grown ass men, like, yes sir, no sir. We're all like that, man. Damn, I'm almost as old as your dad. And it's like, yes sir, like we were training this morning. Yes sir, you know what I mean? But I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I agree 100%. So, I wouldn't be the person I am if it wasn't for him.
Yeah.
Him and my mom.
For sure.
Raising us, putting us through hard times and, making us work. I remember as a kid, my younger brother started to get a little fluffy. He was getting ready to go. You know how kids do.
Yeah.
My dad wasn't having it.
No.
All summer long.
Was it Sweet Tea?
Yes, it was Sweet Tea. All summer long, man.
Tony Thompson, Sweet Tea.
My dad had us under the crawl space of the house, where our house was. Our house was. We lived in a neighborhood. The first house built, and all the other houses put all their debris and bricks under the crawl space of our house.
Right.
All summer long, we're under there. We had 1 hour off a day, 6 days a week. We had Sunday off. By the end of the summer, shredded. I remember one time we came home, started to sprinkle a little bit. We were, all right, guys, let's go in the house. Dad gets home. Steven, Tony, Evan, get out here right now. What y'all doing? What started raining? Boom! Smoke knocks him on the ground. Looks at Evan. Boom! Smokes him. Of course, Tony's like this big, so he just like pushes him down. He's like, you chase girls in the rain, you work in the rain. So we were under the house, man. By the end of the summer, shredded.
Yep.
Shredded.
Making men.
That's right.
Building men.
That's right.
I
There's
guess I
nothing
gotta
wrong
start
with
doing that
There's
right now.
nothing
No,
wrong with
man.
making you young and work.
That is what our society lacks today, without question. We're not getting all preachy. Like, we need a little bit of a Spartan mentality in our life to build a strong society.
Right.
You know?
And from that, I never had a rough life, but I think I turned out okay.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. What you got, Shorty?
For me, man, there's a lot of times I was terrified to just see my dad sometimes. Because my dad, if you don't know, my dad was a goon in a gang. I was a weed, cocaine, steroid baby. My dad beat us up either because we were in his way or he was trying to teach us how to fight. So I would always just have to play body shots on my big brother who's 8 years older or my father or other gang members. So it was just one of those ways that I learned how to be that inside brute fighter.
Yeah.
But we were watching, it scares the hell out of me, think about it. We were watching boxing. Just whatever boxing fights, whatever came on, whether it was pay-per-view, HBO, HBO After Dark, whatever the case may be, and my dad always made us watch it so we can study film.
Right.
And I'm sparring with my brother and also playing with my dad. I'm the youngest one, my brother being 8 years older, closer to my father, so he's being a little rougher with him and kind of just pushing me over to the side. And the round was about to start, so my dad's like, all right, stop. I'm already in midair, like going Superman, punching my dad in the face. And I'm like 4 or 5 years old, so I can punch as hard as I want, and it doesn't really hurt them. But I have these sharp, bony knuckles at 4 or 5 years old, and I clip them right in the cheekbone.
You cut him, right?
Yeah, I have a picture of it too. I freaking punched him, and I cut him. And I remember standing there. My brother was my protector, and I remember standing there, and I was just like,
Londo left you high and dry, didn't he?
dude, my brother disappeared. He literally was like a ghost. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna just. You ever see the Homer Simpson meme where he just goes in the bushes? He's like, no, I can't. That's the you.
That's on you, pal.
And he just
Have
backed
fun.
up. No, he disappeared. And I remember just being terrified, like already crying before I got my butt kicked because I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
My dad looks at me super pissed and gets him and runs to the kitchen. And I'm just like, I don't know what he's gonna do. He's contemplating stuff. He's getting a knife. He's doing something.
He's gonna
I don't know
shake
what's
me.
happening. And little I know, I'm sitting there crying for like an hour or two, just waiting for an ass kicking. He never showed up. And years later, after like the memory comes back, years later, he took a picture and he's like, "This was one of my proudest moments because I taught you how to punch."
No way.
And I was just like, "Oh, that was one of my scariest moments." That was a complete opposite. Like,
I'm
thought I
sitting
was
there
gonna
nervous
die.
trying to figure out what your dad's coming back with.
Yeah.
My dad.
I'm nervous.
His
my
dad was
dad-
no joke, man. He's this big,
Like,
but no joke.
I took ass kickings. My brother, especially because my father was younger and like in the prime of his gang life, my brother got it way worse than I did. But man, he definitely wasn't afraid to show that he was mad. And what about? I know you were raised by your mother. Was there any point in your life where you're just like, oh man?
You know what? My mom and I mean, she was 14 when she had me, so we grew up together. And there was no male influence in my life until I was 19. By that point, I was already in the Marine Corps. So there was never a time that I was afraid of anything, and I was a real shithead because of it. Like, I lacked a moral compass and discipline, and it showed in the choices I made. But I will tell you that when my mom married Ed, and he and I developed that rapport, I remember that it wasn't even anything bad, but we were both Marines, and I was like half an hour late to something.
Oh yeah.
And he, from being a Marine and being on TV, like, timing was everything to him. And I showed up, I was with my wife, and she's like, "Oh, what's the big deal?" I was waiting on her, which is why we were late, right? And I said, "Babe, you have no idea. Like, this, like, you don't." There was something. He's like your dad. Like, you just respected him,
Yeah.
The whole time he was sitting there, he just looked down on his watch. He looked at me when I walked in, and it was just that I'm so disappointed in you.
That's the
that
worst
crushed
part.
me.
Yeah.
Because I grew up without a dad. And then this man decided he wanted to be my dad and gave of himself so much. So the fact that I disappointed him, even if it's something as insignificant as just being, did I do anything wrong? No, my wife was late.
Yeah.
But to him, I didn't manage my situation. I didn't take care of my business. And man, so that's mine. Not near as bad as you guys, but I think there's something about when you have a relationship with somebody and you disappoint them.
Yeah.
It's that knowledge that you've disappointed them that's really kind of the heavy toll.
Makes it worse.
Yeah,
I see it all the time, especially with kids that look up to me in kids' classes, and maybe they're not doing something at home or not listening to mom and dad. And, that's one of the words that I learned growing up that just really stuck into me. I never wanted to disappoint my dad.
Yeah.
I said, "Listen, man, little Johnny, I'm really disappointed in you." And you can just see it.
It crushes them, dude.
Yeah, their
Like,
heart just sinks.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, you show them some love. And what it's all, let them know you're disappointed, but everything's going to be okay.
Hey, son, we can build this back up and go
Exactly.
again. All right, Shorty, get us on to the next
Let's
section.
go.
So-
Come on.
That was the Furious Five. How do you say it again?
The Furious Five.
We're
I'm
done
Poe
with that.
Panda.
I'm
But-
Tigress.
So one of the topics that I really wanted to bring to you, especially because you had such a vast kickboxing career. What was your record in kickboxing?
It was 57-0.
Yeah,
57
and you again dominated the sport. What made you transition to MMA?
Oh wow, that's a good question. I was fighting in an organization called the World Combat League. This was kind of like Chuck Norris's baby, right? It was kind of a combination between.
And it was on TV
yeah,
all
it was
over
on the
place.
Versus channel when
That's
the Versus
right.
channel was around. I ended up tearing every ligament in my left leg. Right.
By the way, you've got some tender knees. You've damaged your knees quite a few times over the
I
years,
have.
right?
I've
Is
got-
that because of the style you fight?
No, I think it was just.
Or you just got bitch knees?
It was. I think I got.
It could happen too. Honestly, it could happen too. You never know.
I think
I love
so.
you, WB.
I love you too, man. I think it's. I do think it was after that first knee injury. For me, growing up, I was always flipping in karate. Flipping and doing crazy spin kicks. We call it tricking. I was doing a whole lot of that. And before that fight, I ended up, I think, not knowing it, but tearing my MCL. And
that gives you the stability to everything.
It feels like I've done that. That's not fun.
So first 30 seconds in that first round, I was fighting a guy named Raymond Daniels. I ended up tearing every ligament in my left leg. So my MCL was gone, which was holding, keeping my knee from caving in from the inside, and that's exactly what happened. Ended up tearing everything, was out for 3 years. They took 40% of my meniscus out.
Oh, man.
And I've had 4 knee surgeries on my left and 2 on my right. And the reason that I had the knee surgery on my right was because compensating. And in that time, I was on my way back, back to fighting. I was fighting a guy in Montreal, Canada. And the guy had a really good record, had some really crazy knockouts, was a veteran of kickboxing. We get to Montreal, lo and behold, we get up there, and George St. Pierre and Faraz Zahabi was in my opponent's corner. So I'm like, man, this dude's got to,
Gotta be legit.
And this is the welterweight UFC champion right here. And I ended up knocking the guy in the 5th round, and it was cool because after the fight, the guy was super nice. GSP and Faraz Zahabi, as knowledgeable as those guys are, they were like, hey man, we've been following your career, we love your kickboxing, we love your style, would love for you to come out and get some training with GSP.
Yeah.
I was like, are you kidding me? Heck yeah, let's do this. So ended up going out to Montreal and becoming good friends with GSP.
Yeah, and here's the thing: you're humble, so you won't say it. But George has referred to you not once, but like many times as the greatest striker in combat sports. That's a hell of an accolade, to come from a guy like that.
Yeah.
Your style has just been it's something that has been refreshing, I think, for a lot of especially MMA fans to see.
Yes,
but it wasn't just MMA. All combat sports.
And me, I'm just glad to be a part.
Yeah, right. You're like, what?
I'm just glad to be
What's
a
he
part.
talking about?
Oh man, and I learned a lot from training with him too. We became good buddies, and he started to bring me out for every one of his camps. Thiago Alves, Carlos Condit, BJ Penn, Matt Serra the second time, just all of his camps. We became good buddies, and through him, I started training with Nate Marquardt.
That's right.
I ended up meeting Nate the Great, who's a huge inspiration to me as well.
Yeah, he's a hell of a man.
Yeah, great guy, good family man, amazing martial artist. He also has a karate background as well.
Yep.
And then Rashad Evans. Next thing you know, I'm training with all these champions. I'm like, man, I'm learning so much. And I actually started learning. I was studying jiu-jitsu and wrestling in my teenage years, but I put that on the back burner because I was focused on kickboxing. Yeah. And at the time, kickboxing was a lot bigger than MMA.
When did Lindsay marry Carlos?
Oh man,
because that gave you the access to a lot of jiu-jitsu as well.
Yes, and I'm a brown belt underneath Carlos Machado at this point, and I think it was early 2002. I believe it was 2002. So right out of high school, I started training with Carlos, and they ended up hitting it off, and next thing you know, he becomes family. So now I got him whenever.
That's right. On tap.
Whenever.
It's a trap. No.
Yeah, we got you, baby. We got him. We got him. High fiving my sister Lindsay. Let's go.
The Simpsons or Simpsonville, the Thompsons in Simpsonville, South Carolina, are building the army of martial artists. Man,
that is the plan.
You've got your family. You got the Machados, the Weidmans,
and now they're moved to South Carolina. The Weidmans are in South Carolina.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Oh,
they moved
man.
to South Carolina.
You know what? Why not though? From New York to come on,
100%.
Quality of life, cost of living, raising children, all that stuff.
And they're loving it. And
that's cool. I'm glad to hear. Because Chris is awesome, man. He's a great dude.
I love that guy. And this all started, like you said, training with GSP, just meeting all these guys. Helping Rashad Evans help. I went out there to help him get ready for Lyoto Machida. And while I was out there,
by the way, you're the perfect guy for that, right?
Oh man, it was great, and that's how I met Nate. First time out there in
because they were all in Colorado.
Yeah, Colorado. Yeah, exactly. Right. It was awesome. So I learned a lot training with these guys, and I found myself learning more wrestling and jiu-jitsu just to be a better sparring partner for these guys, and just the mindset, which is why they were champions. The mindset they had was just amazing, and this is something I've taken with me through my whole MMA career, right? And so that they were my inspiration to switch from kickboxing to MMA. And of course, I had to modify my whole striking, stance, the movement, because every time I would blitz on GSP, he would just change his level. Next thing I know, I was on my back. Yeah. I'm like, man, I'm sitting there, keeping myself up at night, trying to figure out ways to prevent that.
So how did you adjust your style, but still keep your style?
Well, it all started with my stance. You know, everything that I do is based off of my movement.
Right.
Based off of my movement. So, you know, the angles, the blitzing, the transition from your hands to your feet. That all I had to go back and really change that. And basically what I came up with, lower my stance a little bit.
It's what your pops and I were working on today with me.
Lowering that stance.
Yeah, he's like, man, just put your foot out. That brings you down. That opens up your hip, and then you throw and you get longer extension in your punch.
Exactly, and I've always fought with my hands down as well.
Yeah.
Right. So I was like, you know what? Most of the guys I'm going to be facing are going to want to take me down. So this, number one, I learned from Muhammad Ali, helps distribute my weight.
Right.
With my hands down here, number one, most of the people when they fight you, they look at you in your eyes.
Right.
They're supposed to be looking center mass, but they look here. So if my hands are here, they see my hands coming a mile away. But down here, very difficult to see where your hands are coming. It helps distribute my weight. Yeah, it's a little bit dangerous. I don't recommend that to just anybody.
No, you got to have movement.
Years
to be able
of
to
training,
do that.
right?
You can't be me. You can't be me.
Yeah.
I'm right in
Or
front the
certainly
entire
not
time.
me.
Yeah.
Years of training to just kind of figure this out. But it helps me with my takedown defense as well.
Because it allows you to frame and get to sprawl and all that easier. Right.
Exactly. With my wider stance, it's a little bit easier to defend a guy with a single leg than a double, right? They get around both legs, they're picking up, dumping on your head.
And
So
your wide stance makes it harder to get to the double.
Right. It makes it so much easier. And it allows me to angle change just off of a win. I mean, backing up, moving forward. So what I would say is what helped me the most was just widening my stance up and just a lot of experience, a lot of sparring, a lot of training with wrestlers. Like GSP, Nate Marquardt, Rashad Evans, Chris Weidman.
Yep.
I've trained with some of the best strikers in the world as well. Anderson Silva, Leo Tamachita. Spent several weeks up in California at Black House training with those guys.
Right.
So just putting myself with the best people out there, and I was so fortunate to be able to do, so blessed to be able to go out there and do that. Just taking advantage of everything around me and be able to go do that was a huge help. Just a lot of sparring, smart sparring.
Yeah.
There's the right way to spar and the wrong way to spar, and I've experienced both.
Sure.
Going to sit different places, and as soon as you step on the mat, it's like guys are trying to rip your head off. It doesn't make it fun.
We need to get
It's
better
good
here.
times. Exactly. I'm not trying to defend myself, and I can't work on anything in that environment.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
I gotta be able to allow myself to make mistakes.
So I got a question, which a little bit off topic, but still very much on point, which is, since you've been in the UFC, what's the favorite fight you had? Regardless of what the outcome was, what fight did you enjoy the most?
Wow, I would say it was the Johnny Hendricks fight. I think that and the Jake Ellenberger.
Yeah.
Because I do want to say this with the Johnny Hendricks fight. I was a part of his camp for that fight.
Oh, no way.
And my weight management specialist, nutrition, worked with him for that fight. And that was the first time Johnny Hendricks had a six-pack.
He looked phenomenal.
He was phenomenal.
He looked great.
And that was supposed to be like his big comeback after the whole GSP stuff and Robbie Lawler. So it's like, man, he's going to make a big return. And you just blew him out the water. How did you feel even going into that fight?
Well, number one, I mean, especially with both guys, because not only they have wrestling, but they can put you out with one punch.
Yeah.
They had that
big
one
power.
They were
hitter,
extremely
quitter,
well-rounded fighters.
type,
Big old
strength.
country boy strength.
Oh yeah. Oh, I mean, just knock you out. I mean, just barely clipping, just put you to sleep. So, and it was a big step up for me as well. I don't know if I was even ranked when I fought Jake Ellenberger, but
I think it's the fight that ranked you.
it was the fight that ranked me. So I was super nervous going, especially the guys that put you to sleep. One mistake, as we all know, could put you away. But these guys were phenomenal wrestlers. Mm-hmm. So knowing that going into training camp for this fight, I really worked on my wrestling and brought in some really good guys. Nate Marquardt being one of them. And that's how I actually met Lex. Mm-hmm. was through Nate Marquardt. And I think those fights, knowing that at some point they're going to want to take me down. So if I was able to keep my and that was kind of actually the true test to all the modifications that I've had. Is this going to work? Mm-hmm. And against the Jake Ellenberger, it really did. He hit me with that inside trip, and I ended up lateral dropping him and ended up on top, and I kind of broke after that. That was his go-to thing. Was to
you broke his plan.
Right.
And so at that point, he's like, what do I do?
Right. I know this guy's going to strike me, and I can't take the guy down. It literally took everything away, and from then on, I could just see him mentally just break. And I know going into the Johnny Hendricks fight, if I could do just that, he's going to break as well.
Yeah.
And in that first round, he ends up getting him in the cage. He ends up trying to take me down. Kept my cool. Working with these guys, these high-level grapplers and wrestlers, it's like I've been there before. I always put myself in training in uncomfortable situations. So that
you have to. Like if you don't,
to.
like I mean, I told the guys, I said, listen, man, like when I started this camp, I said, I love you guys, but I've asked you to be here because I know you love me enough to push me.
Right.
And if you're not pushing me, then there's a problem. Like Mo cracked me in the face the other day and like cut me up, and I was laughing. I was like, "This is awesome, dude! Like this is what I
you're alive.
This is what I wanted, and then I'm on the ground and I'm like watching these like big ham hocks come piling down on me, and I'm trying to defend them. And in the back of my mind, even in the heat of the moment, I'm like, this is exactly what I have to have, And who better to do it for you than the people that love you?
Exactly. And you know what? Watching that go down the other day, watching you spar, put a smile, just the biggest smile on my face, because I know that right there is what's going to make you successful.
Yeah, 100%.
And not only that, but you being comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And that's what everybody, especially at the highest level, I see guys out there, take a day off, or let's make this sparring session easy, and that's all they do, right? They're not used to being uncomfortable out there. I know when I got Chris Weidman, grinding me down to the ground, being heavy, still punching me in the face, exhausting me, and I'm working my butt off to try and get up, knowing I can't, but I'm still trying. And there is some point where he's on top of me and I can't even breathe. And I'm like, you know what? This fight's not going to be this. It's not going to be this hard.
That's the way I look at it.
It's not going to be
the fight
this
that
hard.
I have. I mean, no disrespect to my opponent. He's got a hell of a lot more experience than I do. He's got 25 plus fights, I think 27 fights, but I guarantee you, he has not, certainly under a condensed period of time, had the accumulation of pure talent and knowledge focused on him the way that I have. And I'm blessed that's been the opportunity, man. I've got so many amazing people just giving me, helping me get better. I just feel like there's, and then having sparred with Yuli Monster, Rami Hamed, who has a style just so similar to yours.
I would say
so
better.
elite.
I mean, he's going to be in the UFC. This guy.
He's going to be
a guy
amazing.
that you work with on a regular basis.
In my garage, he and I are training, and then having Big Mo, who is way heavier and stronger than this guy's going to be. Like if I can weather those storms and still actually in quite a few instances execute some of the things that I need to be doing offensively and from a strategy standpoint, I'm like, man, there's nothing this guy's going to have. Like I still got to go out and fight. I know it, but I at least feel like I don't have to worry about the unknown of what it's going to feel like if I'm put in a bad situation. Man, I guarantee the situation won't be near as bad as what I had to deal with the other night with Mo, man.
I know. Witnessing that, I'm like, oh my God, how are you surviving this right now? I would not be underneath Big Mo, man.
No,
but
zero fun.
Tell me that doesn't give you confidence, right?
No, 100%.
Tell me that doesn't give you confidence. If people are afraid to be uncomfortable.
You have to be uncomfortable. That's how you grow.
You have to. And to go out there and be put in that situation, I see guys get put in those situations, and then you can tell in their eyes they're looking for a way out. Yeah. Not me. When Tyron Woodley had me in that guillotine after knocking me down twice in that first fight, I was like, you know what? I've been here. I'm not giving up. This guy's going to have to put me away or choke me out because I'm not tapping. Right?
Yep.
And the only way to get to that point is to be in those uncomfortable situations. That doesn't mean getting beat up, all the time, but being exhausted when you got these big guys on you, being hit in the head, but having a good sparring partner at the same time. That they're not going to kill you, but they're also giving you that good look, right?
So WB, like, we're getting kind of towards, I think, what the end of the podcast here, but I don't want to leave without, because I've been around you for so many years and heard some of the things you tell your students. Here's some of the knowledge that your dad gives to you. How you even talk to fans and everything. If you were giving a young fighter starting out, some advice on what would be that kind of nugget of advice you would give a young fighter starting out?
Well, for one, if it's in the fight game is not an easy game. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of sacrifice that goes along with it, not just to your family and friends, but to your own self, to your body as well. There's going to be injuries. There's going to be things that are going to injury, firsthand experience. Doctor told me I'd never fight again after tearing every leg of my left leg.
Mm-hmm.
But
Hey, Doc, you were a little wrong, bro.
exactly.
Just a tad
A little bit.
wrong.
Just a little bit.
My boy's fought for the title twice and is on the hunt again.
Yes,
A
sir.
little bit.
But keeping that positive attitude, but keeping a small circle
Sure.
of good people, good training partners, good, for me, it's my family and my friends and my training partners. That will keep you focused. There are times where you're going to want to give up, but those people are the ones that are going to save you. So I would say reach out, find those people, and you'll know who they are when you meet them.
Sure.
For me, it's you guys. Obviously, it's my dad. It's my sparring partners that sacrifice themselves to help me get to where I'm at. Those are the guys I look to whenever I'm feeling like things aren't working right.
Yeah.
So find those people
I
and
love it.
keep that small circle.
That's great
'Cause
advice.
you'll have a lot of yes men out there, and
Yeah.
you see that in high level fighters as well. You got a lot of guys who are just not gonna, be real with you.
Yeah.
So.
All right, I
see
love
it
it.
out.
I love it. WB, thank you so much for coming
Anytime,
on.
brother.
I'm Lex
Always a
McMahon,
pleasure,
Jose Shorty Torres, Wonder Boy. Twins Podcast. Check us out.